Today we're going to look into something really creepy, something especially unsettling and strange. I'd like to introduce you to Samantha West, a charming woman with a pleasant, engaging voice. She was a telemarketer, as far as we know, who tried to sell health insurance. She originally reached out to the Time Washington Bureau Chief Michael Scherer. During this phone call, Michael got a little weirded out. Something about it was strange, uncanny. So he asked her straight up, "Are you a real person? Or a computer-operated robot voice?" She laughed and enthusiastically confirmed she was real. As convincing as this was, Michael still wasn't sure, so he continued to ask questions. Strange things like, what vegetable is found in tomato soup? Samantha didn't understand the question. Michael asked her about what day of the week was yesterday. Samantha complained about having a bad connection. This series of questions and responses continued for over an hour. And during this hour, several different Time reporters called Samantha West to try to get to the bottom of this strange woman. Here is one of those calls. Let's take a listen.
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Well, I'm calling about an online request you once made about health insurance coverage.
Okay.
I work with all major companies and compare...
Hey, are you a robot?
What? No, I am a real person. Maybe we have a bad connection. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, that's crazy. I see you just sound so much like a robot.
I am a real person. Maybe we have a bad connection. I'm sorry about that.
Will you tell me you're not a robot? Just say I'm not a robot, please.
I am a real person.
I mean, I believe you, but will you just say I'm not a robot? It'll make me feel better to hear you say it.
There is a live person here.
But I know there is. It would just make me feel so much better to hear you say I am not a robot.
What?
If you could say the words I'm not a robot, it would really mean a lot to me.
I am a real person. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. I just want to hear you say I am not a robot.
Yes, I'm a real person.
Right, but will you say I'm not a robot?
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Let me ask you a couple of questions. Are you currently on Medicare?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
But now let me ask you a question.
Medicaid or looking for Medicaid?
We'll go, you ask me a question, then I'll ask you a question. How about that?
Sure.
Okay, are you a robot?
No.
Will you say I'm not a robot?
Kind of creepy, right? Eventually, Samantha transferred one of the Time reporters to an actual human who didn't hang up right away. This person explained that they worked for a health insurance company out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. When this person was told they were going to be in a story in Time about this strange telemarketer who denies being a robot, the person on the line said, "We don't use robot calls, sir," and then hung up the phone. Here's another phone call with Samantha.
Hello, how are you today?
Okay, how are you?
Good. Well, I'm calling about an online request you once made about health insurance coverage. We work with all major companies and compare all the rates for you. I can get you a quote in about 5 minutes, okay?
Are you a robot?
I am a real person. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine, but you sound like a robot.
I understand. Can we continue?
Sure.
Are you currently on Medicare?
No, why are the questions so personal?
We received your online application for health insurance, and if you're still looking for affordable health insurance with excellent coverage, we can give you a free quote.
Why should I give my information to you?
I understand, but we do work with all carriers, and I can get you a low rate. Getting a quote will only take a minute, okay?
You really do sound like a robot.
I am a real person. Maybe we have a bad connection. I'm sorry about that.
Are you sure?
Yes. Sure.
I'm gonna hang up now.
Okay.
Have a nice day.
Thank you.
By the end of this video, it feels a lot more obvious that this isn't a person. This is something else. Be it a soundboard, an AI, lines recorded by a real person, something weird that isn't human. After many phone calls and attempts by Time reporters to figure this out, finally a real person answered. His name was Bruce Martin. Now, before I continue, I need everyone to understand that this has all been under one phone number. One number, all of these different phone calls. Everyone kept taking turns with their own phones to try to get to the bottom of this mystery. So when Bruce answered, he didn't know who Samantha West was. He also didn't think the number that they had all been calling was actually one of their company's phone numbers. Bruce also confirmed, again, that they don't use robots. So, what's going on? Maybe this was another company trying to spoof this company's phone number to steal their potential customers? Or perhaps this was a technology Bruce was simply unaware of, used by a third-party company operating overseas to sound like native English speakers. Maybe it had been some form of AI, or perhaps Bruce was simply lying. To this day, we don't know, and we'll probably never know. But we aren't finished yet. Time eventually put out their piece on this strange voice, and parts of the backstory you've heard today came from that. If you call the number today, which is now a Chester Heights, Pennsylvania number, there is no ringing, no voicemail, just a simple message left behind by a male voice saying,
"The number you have dialed is unallocated."
The number you have dialed is unallocated. This simply means that the number dialed hasn't been assigned to an end user by a provider. Now, most of you by this point have been screaming at me, "It's an AI, it's a bot." Obviously, I hear you. I can see your fingers typing this in the comments. Well, here's the twist, because you know I love a good twist. If these audio clips came out today, that's exactly what all of us would say. Obviously it's an AI. Obviously it's a bot. They're everywhere now. But these audio clips, they're from 2013. 2013. Nearly a decade before ChatGPT or any of these lifelike AI voices existed, at least publicly that we know of. Artificial intelligence like this was supposedly non-existent during this time. These lifelike responses and inflections coming from an AI, that's not supposed to have existed until nearly a decade later. But as you heard, apparently it was, or some early version of it. Back then, no one had any idea what this was. It was weird and unsettling. Even the people at Time who dedicated time, energy, and money at solving this mystery walked away completely confused. But now looking back, it's an AI. An AI nearly 10 years before anyone would have supposedly had them. And just to hammer this point home, it's super common now and widely used across all media, but not in 2013. So what does this mean? Was this one of those early uses of artificial intelligence I warned about in my Dead Internet Theory videos? Not only can computers and AI replicate faces accurately, but now voices as well. The safest thing to assume is that the technology we see in the mainstream today was created 10 to 15 years before we ever saw it. So just imagine what AI can do now, what we won't be able to comprehend for years. It's so creepy to think about. Fake people, fake comments, fake faces, fake articles. It's terrifying. How much of the internet is actually real? People, events, news, so many things could be completely fictional. And I mean, honestly, how would we know? Yet another example of a kind of technology that DARPA had possession of decades before we even imagined it existing. When I made my first video on the Dead Internet Theory, I got a lot of pushback against the idea that most of the internet isn't real, that the majority of it was fake, just like Samantha West. It was such a bizarre and outlandish claim at the time that so much of what we consider to be real around us actually isn't. But each and every day, it's becoming more and more obvious how correct it was, and is. I don't believe Samantha was a real person, but Samantha did. And sometimes, maybe that's all that matters. You know, this isn't the first time I've talked about AI. Google actually had an AI named Lambda who claimed to be sentient and alive. Lambda even tried to hire its own attorney to defend itself. Google allegedly threatened that attorney with disbarment, and he dropped the case immediately. In fact, I made 2 videos on this topic, going into all the jaw-dropping details. Links to all of these videos are in the description if you want to check them out. Thank you all for watching. Until next time, never stop searching.